Hello everyone, this is Francisco, and today we're going to be going over the basics that we've learned so far for Python. I figured it'd be a good time to get back to what we learned with our test coming up. So let's go over the first couple of things, some basic Python things that we need to know, such as print. So when we're using print, we're trying to display messages to the user. And when we run our print, as long as we have the correct parentheses and quotations in there, we'll see things that come up like back to basics is our first line. And so one thing that we want to remember is that the program that we're using, it basically is a set of instructions telling the computer what to do. And so Python has its own program within itself called the interpreter, and the interpreter reads line by line from left to right. So it's going to read the first line. That first line says print and back to basics. And so when we run it, the first line that comes up here will say back to basics. And then we have 4 lines that are empty. And so that's how we get the space right here. So we're showing the user what we type in here. And then we're also showing the user the absence of the space right here. So the second thing that is important are comments. These quotations right here, the double quotations, you can do a multi-line comment by using 3 quotations at the top and 3 quotations below it. So everything in between will basically not run in the code. The program will ignore it and skip over it. When we use hashtags or pound signs, it'll make a single line of code into a comment. And that will also not run whenever we start to run the code. So like we said, a program is a set of instructions telling the computer what to do. Python uses a program within itself called an interpreter, and the interpreter reads your code line by line, left to right. Another thing is the variable. And you can think of variable as like a storage name. They're important because they help store information that can be used for later. And so they can also be easily changed so that you don't have to rewrite entire lines of code. So X, Y, and Z, these are all variables, and we can make these variables into anything. We made X into a word. So you can tell that this is a string because it has the quotation marks around it. Y is a variable, and it has the integer 4, but we converted it into a string. We do this by putting str and then in front of the 4. So the class type that's in front of the 4 dictates what it is. And in this case, it's a string. Now the z variable is a 4. There's nothing in front of it. So the program automatically assumes that it's an integer. Our fourth variable is a equals 5.5. So in this case, it's a float. We know that it's a float because it has a decimal, 5.5. So this dictates that it's a float. Some other basic things that we need to know for Python is the input. So input collects text from the user. And in this case, we're asking the user for the year they were born. So we'll do birth year equals integer, and it's integer because we're asking for a number. We're asking for their input, and the question is, what year were you born? When they give us the year, we'll tell the program to print wow, plus their year that they were born, plus was a great year. So let's test that. So let's run the code. So what year were we born? I'm going to put my birth year, 1995, and then we'll press enter. Now we're going to get a syntax error. So the reason why there's an error is because birth year over here is considered an integer, and we can't add a string to an integer. So the first thing that we need to do whenever we're doing something like this is to make sure that we are properly putting in our code and converting the integer into a string. And we'll do that just like we did up here on line 28, y equals str 4. So we converted that 4 into a string. We're going to do the same thing with the year. So string parentheses birth year. So let's rerun that code and see what we get. So we'll do 1995, enter, and now it prints out the correct response. Wow, 1995 was a great year. So it's converting that integer into a string so that way it can be read by the user. I hope that helped anyone who might have been mixed up with some of these, definitions or concepts. Hope you have a good day. Bye.